We roll along on this Thursday edition of the show. Our 2-for-1 tonight is our good friend Lisa Horne. Does a terrific job. PigSkinGrind.com, longtime college football writer. Giving us a few minutes on the show.
Thank you.
All right, Lisa. Help me make sense of these college football playoff rankings. Every time I think I've got it figured out, there's another kind of fly in the ointment. Oregon losing this week obviously changes some things, maybe opens up a door for some of these other teams. I still think when push comes to shove, Tennessee's path, if Tennessee basically wins out, they're going to get in, I would have to imagine, right?
Yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, I look at these college football playoff rankings. How do you feel about 1 through 4? Are you in agreement?
I'm in total agreement. I'm really excited about TCU kind of being the fly in the ointment there because, you have to respect an undefeated team in, a Power 5 program. And we know Ohio State versus Michigan. Somebody has to lose in that game. But the question remains, how many spots will the loser drop? I mean, you think about it. I mean, Alabama only dropped 3 spots when it lost to Tennessee, right? So if Ohio State drops like a couple of spots, it could still be number 4, which creates a problem for Tennessee and everybody behind it.
But if it's Michigan that loses, they're going to obviously drop out of the top 4. You would think a loss for them is pretty much crippling, right?
Well, what the thing is so I was looking at comparing the common opponents, and actually, for the most part, Michigan looks better on paper than Ohio State, in my opinion, of course. But
if we're talking about one loss Michigan versus 1 loss Tennessee, it's got to be Tennessee.
Well, because everybody loves the SEC. I mean, if you have to look at the rankings, there are 2 SEC teams with 2 losses that are in the top 8. And, I mean, USC's kind of squashed in the middle of that. But I have no idea why a 1-loss Tennessee is ranked number 5. And no offense to Tennessee. I mean, I think they're good. But the SEC West is just really mediocre this year. You've got 2 really good SEC teams in the East, and it's Georgia and Tennessee. The West is like, And they're still, putting a lot of respect on the SEC West schedule, which it irks me a little bit as someone who likes to look at the whole college landscape as a whole. I think the SEC is losing a little bit of credibility when it comes to, especially the SEC West.
Talking with Lisa Horne, PigSkinGrind.com, does a great job on college football, giving us some time on the cash in here on Sports Map Radio and the Sports Map Radio app, also on Twitch, Jason Page 77 if you want to watch us there. If USC, it's crazy, but here we are now with USC and UCLA this weekend. Can you find a path into the top 4, minus an anvil falling on everybody, that gets USC into the top 4?
I do. I mean, I think, first of all, I'm honestly, someone asked me to predict the score, and I was like,
I think that's crazy.
UCLA 45.
Yeah.
I mean, neither team's defenses are very good, but you have to look at what is the whole point of winning a college football game? It's to score points, more points than the other team. If that's the key, then USC has a path, especially if they go 11-1 and then do what they have to do. But it's so funny. I mean, I'm trying to put my finger on the pulse of this game. UCLA fans are totally convinced that USC is going to kick the you-know-what out of them. And USC fans are terrified because of the defense that USC's put on the field that UCLA is going to beat them. So at this point, I think the first team to 50 wins. And because Ohio State and Michigan, somebody has to lose. I think TCU wins out. I still don't think Tennessee's going to get the same respect as Georgia. LSU and Alabama are going to drop, even though they're the SEC West. I'm sorry, but you have 2 losses. A 1-loss USC should leapfrog you. I think USC will get in there.
Can I pull a complete 180 here? I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. Nothing college football playoff related, but I want to remember to talk to you about this before I get off the air. And I'm a little bit biased here because I'm originally from the state of Connecticut. But if you had told me that Jim Mora would have UConn bowl eligible in his first full season, with where this this program has been, since Randy Edsall basically left the first time around, and took off for Maryland after getting them into a BCS bowl game at the time. I think it was the Fiesta Bowl out in Arizona against Oklahoma. If you had told me that after everything that's going on with this program, I mean, the doldrums that they've been in, that now we'd be talking about a UConn team that's bowl eligible, potentially win 7 games this year, just beat Liberty on Saturday, I would have had you urinating in a cup. I would have had you tested. I mean, it's insane what he's been able to do in the first year. Talk just for a moment about what Jim Mora has been able to do with UConn.
Okay, so I tweeted this last week, but there is no way in HE whatever that Jim Mora should not be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. And I know a lot of people go, oh, big deal. But you know what? UConn was one of the first teams to become bowl eligible. I'm like, really? UConn? I mean, Storrs, Connecticut. I am so excited for UConn because, I look at them more as a basketball school. And I remember back in the day, UConn actually, I think they went to the Fiesta Bowl. I couldn't remember, but they lost a lot of money because of how much it cost them because they couldn't sell out the stadium and they were on the hook for the seats. But for Jim Mora to do what he's, what UConn, I can't remember the last time they were both, it was like in 2015 or something. This is huge. And he is one of the guys that is going to make my Coach of the Year list, as well as some other guys like Hugh Freeze, Liberty, James Madison's Kurt Signetti, and even, you know what, the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, whoever it is, I'll put them in there. But I look for coaches that have made a huge difference. And Jim Mora, bless his heart, UConn, I'm all in. I'm all in. The guy should be on the top 5 Coach of the Year. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Lisa Horne joining us, pigskin.grind.com. I had to get it in because it's easy to talk about, the big stories and the popular stories, but at the same time, people need to recognize, because I honestly thought, up until the point where they went and got Mora, I thought there was a chance they were going to fold the program or go back to 1AA, FCS or whatever. I actually thought there was
independent land right now. They're in that. They're in that independent. I remember when Idaho was there, and all of a sudden Idaho is no longer in FBS. They're on the cusp of not even becoming relevant in FBS, and here they are. They're freaking going bowling. Good for them.
Yeah, and like I said, they could get a 7th win if I think they have Army in their final game.
Which is a possibility because Army is not up to snuff this year.
No.
So yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, no, I thought it was something that they deserved a little bit of love in this segment because not a lot of people are obviously going to talk about it with all the big boys that are out there. But the win against Liberty was certainly impressive. I don't know how he does it. They have no quarterback. They have no quarterback and whatsoever.
Liberty, people keep saying, oh, Liberty. I'm like, hey, you know what? Liberty is a tough out, man. Every time I see a school playing Liberty, I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. Hugh Freeze has got him dialed in there. I like Liberty. I would not want to play them as my non-conference schedule.
Is there any two-loss team that you could see getting into the playoff? Is there no possibility at all?
Nope. Notice I just said really cool. No, because there's too many undefeated teams, and I think that I think TCU wins out. I think Georgia's going to win out. I'm not sure on USC. Not Oregon, but Ohio State, Michigan. I think one of them is going to have a loss. I have a feeling it's going to be Ohio State. I called it here. I think Michigan's a little bit of a better team, even though I'm not a fan of Harbaugh. My gosh. Michigan looks really good, and I love Blake Corum. And I think there's too many one-loss or better teams out there that's going to take out the 2-loss teams.
Not to go dark here, but I don't think we could talk about college football without talking about what's going on at Virginia right now.
Yeah.
What's the consensus amongst people you talk to around the college football world in terms of, from a football standpoint, from a, trying to deal with the tragedy of this, to sort of how to carry on the rest of the season, how Virginia is handling this situation?
I think they've done a really good job. I mean, and they were smart to cancel the game. I mean, it's one of those schools that it's a smaller school in the ACC, and I think it was really appropriate that they canceled the game. I think they're going to take the approach that because they lost those 3 football players, and this is typical of a big school program, but they're going to sit there and say, you know what, these players would want us to win for them, right? And I think that's where Virginia is going to go. I don't think anyone's going to blame them. This is such a huge tragedy because it was the crime was allegedly committed by another player, and it's heartbreaking. What apparently one of the players on the team went back in to help the other people. I mean, I can't even imagine what the families are going through. And I think as far as communication and how they've responded, Virginia has done an excellent job. I think they do need to continue to play after 1 week off, not because it's college football and that's what we need to do, but we need to honor the players that have died.
Lisa Horne, pigskingrind.com, joining us here on the program, does a great job on college football. University of California Regents is going to decide in mid-December, I think the 14th, whether or not UCLA can depart the Pac-12 for the Big Ten. What is the rest of, does Cal come along at that point? And what's left of the Pac-12, after these teams leave? I mean, is it just a matter of time before, are they going to have to recruit, maybe teams from Mountain West? I mean, where do you go if you're the Pac-12 after these teams leave?
Yeah, I think first of all, the fact that they're deciding whether they affirm, overturn, or just not have a say in the matter, if UCLA can leave in 2024, I have always taken I've had the position that I don't think they really can say one way or the other. Yeah, according to the council, their council, that the board has the authority to overturn the move. But I think UCLA is already gone. I mean, if they're $78 million in debt in college athletics, they need to do this to survive. So I think what's going to happen in the end is I think the Regents are just going to not have a position one way or the other. As far as the Pac-12, they'll probably get a San Diego State, maybe even a Boise State. But Pac-12 has always been kind of arrogant, sort of like, and I say that in a respectful way, by the way. The same as the Big Ten, where you have to be accredited for this or that. Pac-12 has always basically not looked at a San Diego State or a Fresno State or a San Jose State because they haven't met and this is what I'm hearing, the academic standards. I don't know if adding these schools, even though San Diego State now, it's a tough school to get into. It wasn't like 30 years ago. But I don't know if that's going to raise enough revenue to keep the conference alive. And this is where we're going to be looking at super conferences where maybe the Pac-12 and the Big 12 probably align and become a super conference. I just don't see the Pac-12 surviving with the loss of their 2 major revenue producing schools.
Super conferences next time in the conversation with Jason Page and Lisa Horne.
Yes.
We'll have to get into it.
I said this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I said it's going to be 2 big conferences.
And you know what? I think it makes it easier to try and discern, how they handle this playoff stuff as well. So, if it's going to come to that and it helps the playoff situation, I'm all for it. Lisa Horne.
It's sad, though, with the smaller schools.
No,
absolutely. It really is sad.
No, without question. Lisa Horne, college football writer, pigskingrind.com. Check her out there. Good to talk to you, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
All right, my friend. Take care.
The Cash In with Jason Page, weeknights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Sports Map Radio.